In my video called the 2008 edition of Dialogue with a Christian Proselytizer, I gave a brief high-level overview of my book's three main themes. And for this video, I'm just going to focus on that first theme, which is, if you understand why you reject all the other religions, you'll understand why I reject yours. All right, so the setting of the book, again, is a dialogue between two characters. One is a Christian proselytizer slash apologist who is handing out Judgment Day pamphlets that warn of the eternity of hellfire that await the unsaved. And he's urging people that they need to accept Jesus as their Savior. The other character is a Socratic skeptic who acknowledges that, well, eternal hellfire is definitely something best avoided. So, if the Christian's premise is accurate, well, then accepting Jesus as one's Savior is clearly a no-brainer. But what the skeptic wants to know is why the Christian believes that his premise is accurate. And really, it's not one premise. Really, it's four all at once. Because for this threat to make any sense, that is, this threat that you await eternal hellfire unless you accept Jesus as your Savior, for this to make any sense, four premises have to be true. First, of course, that there has to be some sort of deity, some sort of higher power. Second is that this deity is not only the creator of the universe. This deity is also a published author, or at least has inspired humans to write some sort of text that tell his story and express his will and commands and such. And, of course, that this is a book that's available in bookstores and online. Third premise that has to be true is that in trying to make sense out of the fact that, well, there are thousands of religions out there, thousands of claims of possessing insight to divine knowledge, we have to reject arguments like this popular New Age kind of idea that all the world's religions are different paths to the same deity. But instead, we have to embrace the more fundamentalist type of perspective that one religion was inspired by God, and as for all those thousands of rival religions out there that also claim to know God's will, well, these we can just dismiss as coming from nowhere but the fertile human imagination. And this premise is one that's agreed upon by fundamentalists around the world, whether they're Hindu or Jewish or Christian or Islamic or Zoroastrian. Fundamentalists from all these religions, and many others too, all agree one religion is from God, rest just made up by man. They all disagree, of course, when it comes to saying, well, what is that one religion that has God's sacred stamp of approval on it? But, for the question, will you accept Jesus as your Savior, to make any sense, of course, the Christian middleman has to be the right one. And all the others, just crazy stuff people made up on their own. All right, now my goal in this book is to use the Socratic method with the proselytizer. That is, take the proselytizer's own reasons for placing a religion in the made by a man category, and then to note that these same reasons apply equally to Christianity. So in order for this method to work, the skeptic has to accept, at least for the sake of argument, the first three premises. That is, that there is a creator, that this creator is a communicative one, and will accept, again, for argument's sake, the fundamentalist premise that one religion was delivered to us direct from divinity, rest just creations of the human imagination. So with these three premises in place, my proselytizer and skeptic can begin discussing the question, on what grounds can we identify a religion as just man-made? All right, so the two characters go through a variety of scriptures and mythology from non-Christian religions, and the skeptic gets the proselytizer to pinpoint the purely human origins of foreign faiths by three telltale signs. Now, the first telltale sign is when these foreign faiths contain inaccurate and earthbound descriptions of the universe. Stars that are tiny, a moon that shines its own light, a sun that orbits a flat and stationary earth. Or in other words, the knowledge of the universe found in these ancient non-Christian texts reflects only that which was known by ancient people. And this is a strong clue of human authorship, because if a master designer of the universe authored a book, it's reasonable to conclude that such a book wouldn't contain these kinds of mistakes. It would be irrational, for example, to believe that the master designer of the universe would tell us that the sun appears to be orbiting the earth because a sun god is pulling it across the sky from his fiery chariot. Because a master designer of the universe would know better, would know that the sun isn't orbiting the earth, that it only looks that way because we're turning on our axis. second telltale sign is when these foreign faiths have holy laws that contain irrational prejudices. Now, for texts made up by ancient humans, we would expect it to contain, or at least we wouldn't be surprised to see that it contains irrational prejudices. But when it comes to a master designer capable of designing everything from solar systems to programming that web-spinning know-how into baby spiders, we'd expect to see some of that brilliance in the text, something that rises above the irrationality that's so typical of humans. We wouldn't expect, for example, to see such a creator inspire something as irrationally prejudicial as the Hindus' caste system. All right, last telltale sign that a religion was assembled by man rather than inspired by God is when we can tell these foreign faiths were just pieced together from pre-existing religions. Because it seems unlikely that a creator who did such a good job at designing things like fish with gills and mammals with lungs would operate by such a sloppy method when it comes to distributing his holy word. That such a creator would not operate by the confusing method of inspiring bits and pieces of part accurate and part inaccurate religions in different parts of the planet and in different time periods, and then wait for centuries or even millenniums to wait for humans to take these part accurate and part inaccurate religions and then assemble bits and pieces from them in just the right combination. So if one religion is from God and the rest just made up by people, we could probably safely rule out a religion like Sikhism, because that was pieced together in the 1500s by combining bits and pieces of the then 4,000-year-old or so Hinduism and the then 900-year-old Islam. So with these three telltale signs agreed upon, the conversation then turns to examining Christianity by the same light that was just held up to non-Christian religions. And the two characters read through the Judeo-Christian Bible, and the skeptic, as you can probably guess, sees the Bible as containing every one of these telltale signs. Its knowledge of the universe reflects only that which was known by ancient people. It contains irrational prejudices, and it shows lots of signs of being influenced by pre-existing religious beliefs. All right, to be continued in part 2.